All right. Hey, everyone. Hold on. Let me just put this on real quick. All right. Welcome. Let's get this thing started, shall we? If you're new to the stream, this is what I'm going to do real quick. I'm just going to change my charts because we're going to trade the NASDAQ futures. Okay. So hold on. I just have to make a couple of adjustments here. We're going to turn these moving averages off because I don't use those. This is my Bitcoin chart. Just a quick thing here. Nothing is going on. Okay, so far my weekly forecast is still sticking. We haven't broke either way. Interesting, right? Because we're right in the middle of the range. Anything can happen. Um, and this signal has been on here, right, for what, a couple of days or day and a half or something like that on the hourly. If you follow that, again, I don't trade this thing on the hourly, but just wanted to mention those things. Let's get into the NASDAQ, shall we? Because that's what we're looking at here. Let me just put the NASDAQ on my chart real quick. So MNQ1, we're going to trade the micro NASDAQ, MNQ1. We're using the Trade Scanner Pro. If you're not familiar with the Trade Scanner Pro, there's a link in the description that explains how it works. So you can check that out. All right, now, as you guys know, here, let me check my chat over here. All right, hold on. All right. Feel free to say hello. All right. I'm streaming from the greater New York City area, also known as Northern New Jersey. Feel free to say hi in the chat, share what city or what country you're from. That's always a fun fact. And as you know, what we're going to do here first is when we're using the Trade Scanner Pro, we understand that the Trade Scanner Pro is not a forecasting tool. It's a confirmation tool. I repeat that often. And that means that the first step before you take any signals is you have to do some basic analysis. It's basic. It's not hard to do. So all we have to do is gain some sort of sense of context, and that comes from the bigger picture. Because what we're actually trying to do here is we're trying to align our smaller picture with the intent on the bigger picture so that we could take a higher probability trade. And the Trade Scanner Pro helps us confirm that, and it defines our risk and gives us a profit objective based on the current movement so that we have some sort of idea of where we should get in and where we should get out. But we want to be aligned with the bigger picture. And that's why we have to look at context first. Okay, now, so before I get into this real quick, I want to mention at 8:30 a.m. today, earlier, about an hour ago, we had the retail sales report. And obviously, it was not exactly, I don't see any real positive price action here, right? I mean, the markets are slightly negative. So retail sales, I don't know what the outcome was. All I look at are the prices. So obviously it wasn't that great. Uh, at 9:45 Eastern time, which is actually in 5 minutes, we have the Bank of Canada comes out with their rate announcement. I don't really expect that to have much of an effect on the stock market, right? On the NASDAQ futures, especially. But if you trade Forex pairs, you might want to be aware of it. All right. So they had that. The announcement is at 9:45 a.m. And I believe at 10 a.m. or something like that, they have a press conference. That's coming from the Bank of Canada. All right. So not a major market moving event, but just to be aware of. At 1 p.m. today, Eastern Time, at 1 p.m., we have your favorite friend, Chairman Powell, everyone's friend at the Federal Reserve, is coming out and he's going to have a speech at 1 p.m. So that's important, especially if you day trade, because everyone's going to be paying attention to every little word he says. They're going to be looking for hints. They're expecting to get hints about, the June meeting, the June FOMC meeting, where a rate cut is expected. Is he going to give any hints? Is he going to say anything else? Is he going to talk the market up? What's he going to do here? Hey, Henrik, uh, from Spain. Mucho gusto. Or should I say mucho gusto? Right? That's how they say it in Spain. Uh, Do you ever try to take a trade when the NASDAQ opens? Yes. Well, all right. So that's a good question. Here, let me put that question on here so this everyone can see it on the screen. So here's Henrik's question, and he wants to know: do I look to take a trade when the market opens? And yes, that's why I'm streaming at this time, Henrik, because the market open 9:30 till about 10:30 is where there's a lot of momentum. So the Trade Scanner Pro is a momentum tool. It's based on it's measuring momentum. So if trades are going to work out, there's going to be a greater probability when there's higher momentum. So 9:30 till about noon is usually when you get decent trades, or it's a good time to be looking for high momentum trades, particularly on small time frames. Now, if I was working on the hourly chart, or if I was looking for swing trades, then this wouldn't matter as much. But since I'm working on 1 minute charts or 30-second charts, I need momentum. So this is the prime time for that. All right. The second prime time for that would be like near the market close, usually 2:30 to 4 p.m. Eastern time. But the better time is the market open, the US market open. And that would go for any market open, like typically like the London Open, for example. If you're involved in the European stocks or Forex pairs, typically there's more momentum at the London Open. The Asian session, I don't know, that's like hit or miss, right? A lot of times the Asian session is generally not the greatest, at least not for the US instruments. Maybe the Asian, that's another story, but I don't look at those. Okay, so anyway, good question. Yes, so this is a prime time for doing something like the Trade Scanner Pro. So now remember, at 1 p.m. Eastern time, um, at 1 p.m. Eastern time, we have Chairman Powell. That can have an effect on things, even now, because volume may be lighter. People want to wait until this guy starts speaking. And usually, if he's speaking, it's a good idea not to be taking trades. The reason is the charts aren't going to mean much when this guy is speaking, because the market is just going to react to what he says. So it doesn't really matter what we see on the chart. The market's paying more attention to him. And this is all about human behavior. Okay. Now let's change the time frames. I'm going to switch this over here, the hourly. I'm going to change that to a 1 minute. Okay. Right now there's a signal on there, but again, we don't jump into signals. I haven't done my analysis yet. So I wanted to just give you a heads up on what the economic outlook or the whatever economic events are scheduled for today, so we have some idea of what we're dealing with. It's very important when you day trade to be aware of the economic reports that are scheduled, during the times that you may be involved in the market. Now, let's take a look at our bigger picture, right? So I'm starting with my daily time frame. Let me make that bigger here. Now, from the daily time frame, remember, as a day trader, because I'm looking for day trades here, I need to get two pieces of information, right? And that is trend or momentum or price structure. Those are all basically the same things. And I need levels. That is all I need. That is the most adequate information. And with that information, I can make decisions that are relevant to the market. One of the problems with retail traders is they get all mixed up with all kinds of irrelevant information that comes from all over the place. It could even be an oscillator on your chart. It's pretty much irrelevant. Unless there's a pretty strong trend, then an oscillator may have some more relevance. But for the most part, you're looking in the rearview mirror. They don't help. They don't give you any type of advantage. Yet people still insist on using these tools. Okay, have fun with that. Why do you think retail traders don't make any money? So anyway, so trend and levels. Keep it as simple as possible. This is very important as a day trader. We need to keep things as simple as possible. So as far as the trend on the bigger picture, the trend is not really going to affect my day trades. It doesn't matter really if the market's bullish or bearish on the bigger picture. I'm really more concerned with the smaller picture or momentum right now. Okay, but the bigger picture, the daily chart can give me some important information for my day trades, and that is the levels, okay? Yesterday's levels in particular. So this is yesterday's low over here, and this is yesterday's high up here, right? Those are important levels because we can get reactions there. Now, yesterday's high is not even in play, so I'm not even going to put it on the chart. right? So what we'll do here, we have a low from today that was established obviously pre-market. So I want to note that low, and I want to just note yesterday's low, which also coincides with today's high or the pre-market high. That's all I need to know from this chart. Okay? Nothing else. Now, let's go to a smaller time frame. Let's go to the 1 hour. That's the 1 minute. Let's go to the 1 hour. Now, the 1 hour, right? You can see those levels are still on my chart here. The 1 hour is going to just give me a little bit more of an idea of more minor levels, or the current momentum, right? Now, this current momentum is what? Anyone want to tell me? Henrik, you want to tell me what the current momentum is on this time frame? I'll let you guys guess that. It's important that you interact and that you answer questions like that, because these are the questions you have to answer on your own anyway. How would you classify this? Bullish, bearish, or range bound? How would you classify this? Or anyone else want to chime in? Feel free. I'd love to hear what you think. By the way, if you like my stream, for those of you that are listening, press the like button, subscribe to the channel. It helps out and all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to produce more content. As you can see, I've been streaming more than usual because I've been streaming 3 days a week. Here, you can press this button right there, like and subscribe. If you're following me on Twitter, do me a favor, follow me on Twitter, all right? Subscribe to me on Twitter on there, and maybe you can come over to the YouTube channel and help me out over here, all right? Because it's always depressing to see these numbers. They're always very low. Anyway, all right. So, okay, I don't see any answers in the chat. So I'm going to have to give the answer for you. This is generally bearish, okay? We have a lower high over here overnight, established overnight, lower high. Momentum, our previous hourly candle is bearish. We broke the previous hourly lows and we're pushing lower. Those are all bearish signs of bearish momentum. So that tells me that my probability is probably going to be more favorable on the short side using my Trade Scanner Pro. That's what that's telling me. Now, am I near any levels? This is the support level right over here, right? The lower line. That's my overnight low. That's my support level. So because I've determined that my general trend is bearish, that means there's a greater chance that we test that level and break the level, which means if we get there, I shouldn't be in a hurry to go long. Now, if I'm aggressive, I may consider longs if we get there, but it's going to depend on the price action. But I have to keep in the back of my mind that chances are we break, right? So right now, our current location, we're pretty much in the middle of nowhere over here, okay? I don't have any support or resistance levels in this area. So when I see that, and this is a very important point with the Trade Scanner Pro, when I see that, I need to default to the momentum of my smaller time frame. It's very important. So let's go there. All right, now, so that with the hourly chart, we're done. I don't need this anymore. We've made our determinations. Now I can work on the Trade Scanner Pro on the short side because that's the side it's telling me I should be working on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch this to a 30-second chart so I can just monitor. I like to monitor multiple time frames. I'm going to turn my Trade Scanner Pro on this time frame, and I'm going to turn on these features. If you subscribe to the Trade Scanner Pro, you have to turn these things on because when you get this thing, they're turned off. So you have to turn those things on, okay? Trailing stop, the show previous trades, and the heads up. Very important. Otherwise, you're going to miss a lot of information. All right, so now we notice here, let's open up the 1 minute chart. My trend is bearish on this time frame, which means the Trade Scanner Pro is looking for shorts. Okay, that's all good. In fact, there is a short signal that's been in play here since this candle back here. And the trailing stop has advanced and has reduced the risk in half. I can't take this trade now. We're almost at the profit objective. What am I going to do? I missed it, right? But I had to do my evaluation first. I wasn't going to just rush into this thing. In fact, there were a couple of entries. So the first entry was on this red candle right here. It tried to, it went against you a bit, went back below the blue line. So that was a second entry. So there were actually two entries available on this time frame. Multiple entries on these signals is a little bit more advanced. So as I would not expect you to understand that as a beginner. So at this point, I can't do anything. All I can do is watch this trade because here we are at the profit objective. I'm not going to do anything now. Look, it went beyond the profit objective. Okay, would have been nice if I was in this trade, but I'm not in it. So all I can do is wait for another trade signal. Perhaps we get another one on the 30-second chart since it's a higher frequency time frame. Maybe we get something there, right? That's why I like to monitor multiple time frames. Let's just take a look around. Let's just look at that's our 1 minute. Let's take a look at a 2 minute, right? Look at that, lower low. Let's look at the 5 minute, right? That could be a failed low developing, but there's nothing there right now. Also, we're getting closer to that support line, okay? The blue line on the chart, that's the support line. And there may be buying activity there. So one thing I want to keep in mind is if I get a signal, like in this area, a short signal around that blue line, I should probably be a little more cautious. Now, keep in mind, it's very possible, like, I missed this trade right here. It's very possible that we don't see another trade for an hour. It's very possible. And if that's the case, I won't take a trade. I'll sit here for an hour and I'll talk, and I will not take a trade. Now, remember, I'm trying to beat this Apex evaluation. Okay, if we look at my TradeEvade account over here, this is the Apex account, and I just got back to even on Monday. I was minus like $850 or whatever from the week before, and I just got back. I made the money back if you watch the streams because I don't trade this account outside the stream. So we see everything that's being done here, and I got back to break even. Now you say, oh, you wasted all that time. You could have reset the account. Yes, I could have, but I don't want to reset the account. I had to pay another subscription fee. Okay, but the goal here is to try to do this without any resets and to see how long it takes. I don't know if I'll even be able to beat the evaluation, but we're trying. The goal is to make $3,000. So basically at this point, I have $3,000 more to go. I made $1,000, but I made it back. So it sucks when you lose money and you have to do the reset, but I'm not going to do the reset. We're going to see if we want to see if this strategy is sustainable. That's why I'm doing it this way. Are there faster ways to beat evaluations? Yes, there are, but they're also higher risk and they're typically unsustainable. So for a more advanced trader, what you would do is you would have a strategy just to beat the eval, and then you would have your payout strategy, right? Which would be something more like this, which is more sustainable. But since I'm expecting here to be showing this to beginners, I don't want to do an unsustainable eval strategy because it's going to reinforce bad habits. And what's the point of showing that? Like when we can't use that strategy for payouts, because essentially it's the same as gambling, right? I can in this account, by the way, it's a $2,500 account or a $50,000 eval. The max loss limit is $2,500. So we have to treat this account as if it's a $2,500 account. But there are some perks to using a prop firm account because a real $2,500 account has limitations, especially when it comes to using margin. In this account, I can trade up to 10 mini lots. 10. The margin requirements for 10 mini lots is something like, I think it's $290,000 or something. It's something ridiculous like that. It's over $100,000 that you have to have in your account to trade 10 mini lots on a $2,500 account. Now, am I going to trade 10 mini lots? No, I'll wipe out this account in 2 seconds. But the fact that I have that ability, right, is important, and it's a nice perk, because what that means is if I blow $1,000 in this account, let's say, right, and I only have 1,500 left, I wouldn't even be able to trade a micro lot in a real account. In a real money account, I believe the margin requirements, I mean, they change because the brokers are constantly changing them, especially right now in this environment. But when I checked, I think it was, who was it? AMP Futures, they want $2,900 for a micro lot. And you have that means you must have $2,900 in your account minimum to trade one micro lot. So if you have less than that, if you have 2850, you cannot trade a micro lot. In this account, I can trade 100 micro lots for with $2,500 in it. Do you see that? That's a very important perk. Very important. And that's how you can beat an eval in a very short period of time, is basically going all in. But certain strategies, that certain strategies you can do that, but basically what you're doing when you do that is you're going all in and you're gambling, and if it works out, great, you get your payout account, but then you have to switch to your sustainable strategy. If it doesn't work out, you blow your account and you have to go pay for another eval. Right? And that's a valid game. You can play that game, but that's for more advanced traders. This here, I'm just trying to show you, we're trying to answer the question, is this Trade Scanner Pro a helpful tool in beating an eval? And not only that, but you can use this strategy to get payouts. That's the whole point. That's what I'm doing here. That's the goal of these streams. Okay? Now, this went beyond the profit objective. That would have been a nice trade. And I would have been done right there. Okay? Because if I can get this right the first time, I'm done. I stop. That's how I was able to make the money back. You have to have some rules like that. It sucks. It's hard. It requires patience. You're not going to get rich overnight doing this. Right? But all these people that promise that nonsense anyway, if you believe that, then you got bigger problems. And you're just wasting your time, to be honest. You might as well just give up now. All right? So I can't do anything with this. I'm not doing anything with this. And I'm not going to go long. Right? Now, so here's a good learning tip right here. We are getting near this support level, right? And I've told people many times that when you're sitting at a support or at a resistance, if you're going to do counter trend, that would be the time to do it. Meaning this momentum is bearish. In order for me to get a bullish signal here, I'd have to go into counter trend mode on the Trade Scanner Pro. Okay? So that would mean I'd have to do this. I'll switch it for you so you can see. Now, this is counter trend mode. Now, look at this. In counter trend mode, there's a signal that appeared here on the 1 minute chart. Look at that. There's a signal to go long, and it's almost stopped out. But I'm not interested in this. I just finished saying I'm not going to go into counter trend. I'm not going to take counter trend trades, right? The reason I'm not going to take counter trend trades is because everything is clearly bearish here. So taking a counter trend trade is just a low probability. I mean, I can do it if I'm aggressive, but look at this momentum. Lower highs, lower lows. Chances are, like I said before, this hourly low is going to break. I mean, yeah, the low, this is the overnight low. That's what that blue line represents. It's likely, the probability favors that breaking. So why would I start looking for longs here? When I want to look for longs is like the situation that I had on Monday, where we had a generally bullish environment and it was pulling back, and our small time frame was telling us that it was bearish. But we weren't interested in bearish trades. We were interested in longs. So that's when I switched to counter trend mode. Right? Or if we have like a broader bullish situation and we're at a support level, then and my smaller time frames are bearish, I want bullish. So I switched to counter trend mode. And there was a great example of that on Monday. Here, I'm not doing it because our bigger picture is bearish. I suspect the support's going to break. So taking longs is going to be low probability. I can't afford to play the low probability game in this account. I just got back to break even. I don't want to go blow that and go back into the negatives again, right? I want to grow this account to $3,000. I need to make a $3,000 profit. By the way, something that beginners may not be able to appreciate is, and this is one of the cons of a prop firm. They tell you, oh, look, all you have to do is make 6% of a $50,000 account, and you beat the eval. It's not 6% of a $50,000 account. It's $3,000 is not 6% of $2,500, right? $3,000 is what? That's like 150%. So you actually have to make 150% of your account to beat the eval. But of course, if they put that on their website, I got to make 150%. This game is ridiculous. I'm not playing this. But that's what they want you to do. But instead, they compare it to the leverage and they say, oh, you'll have to make 6%. And you're like, oh, 6%, that's pretty easy. I mean, people are making 6% a day. That should be pretty easy to do. Right. So you got to really read between the lines when it comes to those prop firms. So they're not perfect. There's pros and there's cons. But I believe that the pros outweigh the cons if you know what you're doing and you can capitalize inside of the parameters that they force you into. Their goal is for you to lose, and they will put every obstacle in your way, as much as they say that they love you, as much as they say they're your family, and blah, blah, blah. They will put every obstacle in your way for you to fail. Even when you win, when you beat the eval, they make all these complex rules to withdraw the money. Look, that's part of the game, because a winner, especially a consistent winner, is a liability for them. That's a bill they have to pay out every month. And they're not here for you to make money. They're betting against you. So if you know what you're doing, it can work. And the reason why they let this happen is because they know a very, very small population is going to be able to do this consistently. So they know that their liabilities are generally going to be small relative to the amount of losing traders that they're going to have, which is probably going to be like 99% or something like that of their population. It's a winning model. And if you look at some of the court documents from some of these public complaints when they get sued, you see how much money they make. They make a lot of money. Okay? So if you want to make easy money, open a prop firm. Anyway, I'm talking a lot here because there's no trade for me. I'm not taking this long, and I missed a short. I should have evaluated this thing sooner. This would have been a beautiful trade. Man. All right, so that Canada number, 945, that's been out now. So clearly no positive effect, not really much of an effect from that. We're sitting here, it looks like we're the support holds right now. Okay, no problem. But I'm being very conservative. If I was going to be aggressive, I would be attempting to play the long side here. All right, we can watch it. Let's see. But I'm not taking any trades on that. You go back in the counter trend. So look, that first counter trend signal that appeared stopped out. See that one? Stopped out. A second one opened up. So it's a failed low. And look where the stop is. I can measure that risk. Let's see. What's the risk here? On a 1 minute chart, 55 points. That's much better risk than what we were looking at a week ago. Do you guys remember what we were looking at a week ago? When I measured that, it was like 200 points on a 1 minute chart. 200 points is ridiculous. 50 points, that's about right. The profit objective, 82 points. That's about right. Okay, which tells us that the price ranges have gotten smaller. Things are a little bit more back to normal. That's what that tells me. So what that means also is I can switch back to 2 microlots. I switched to 1 because the risk was just so high. So I'm going to go back into, I'm going to get out of counter trend mode, go back into trend mode, because that's where I want to be. I'll switch this to 2 microlots because we're back in a more normal environment. If I lose 50 points on 2 microlots, that's what, $200? Because 50 points is $100 on 1 microlot. So that would be a $200 loss. All right. And 80 points would be like what would that be? 160, it'd be like $320 gain. And with that should be 1.5 to 1. That long trade may work out. Let's watch I'm not doing anything with that, but let's watch it. Because the short trade, that trade is over. Here's the long trade. Okay. Off of the support level. So that was a riskier trade, and this trade still may fail, but look at that. It's halfway to the profit objective. Now, do I feel bad about missing this? Not really, because I'd rather be on the short side. of this market. So, that's why you can't like react to this stuff. You can watch it, you can observe it. I mean, it's hesitating here at the 1-to-1 point. I should actually be paying attention to the short side because that's where we may see something. Notice my 30-second chart. I may get a short signal here because the market, it's looking for shorts, right? It's in bearish mode. I have a heads up. See the heads up? See that? This red line, that's a heads up. That means a signal is likely to appear in the next 3 to 5 candles. I'll take that. If I see the short signal, I'll give it a try. Okay? And this would be if we fail around here, that would be a failed high situation in a generally bearish momentum environment. Okay, so I got the heads up. Let's see if the signal appears in the next 3 to 5 candles. Hey, Hussein, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. So I'm trying to work on the short side here. Now, our next news item, because the Canada news, I believe they're having their press conference now, but I don't think that's really the effect here. I don't think this is reacting to the press conference in Canada. I could be wrong, but I would not suspect that would be the factor driving this. Now, guys, remember, we have Powell at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, I'm not going to be streaming at that time. So remember, I only like to do this for an hour. No, this keeps going. Oh man, that counter trend trade would have been beautiful. All right. Hey man, I stuck to my plan. That's all I can do. Should I still go short this thing? Well, I mean, look where we broke this. We just broke this lower high, but not by a whole lot. Is that a bearish pin bar I see? Yes, it is. On the 32nd. All right, I'm open to that. So let me go to my other chart because that's where I have to take the trade. Right, I have my thing set up here. So if I get the short signal on the 32nd, that's a bearish pin bar, and that's also a failed high. If that sticks, I get the signal, I'll short it. I'm going to stick with the plan. Oh, that's a decent bullish movement. Look at that. But you see, and if this thing just continues higher and higher, I have no signal there. All I'm getting is heads up. So a signal is likely to appear. Okay, see that? The candle has to close. Maybe this is the candle. That might be the candle. Let's see. Ooh, man. All right. And so again, that candle was pretty red there for a moment, right? That may have sucked people in. If I had no Trade Scanner Pro, I may have jumped into that. And that's not exactly working. You see that? It's not exactly selling off there. There was a fake out right there. Trade Scanner Pro hasn't given me a signal. I'm waiting for the signal. That is the whole point of confirmation, to filter out situations like this. So, again, I may have overreacted to the bearish pin bar. Then I had this red candle over here broke the low of the pin bar, and I never got a signal. Notice my long signal has almost reached the trailing stop. I'm sorry, the short signal, that's not a long signal. The short signal from earlier has almost reached the trailing stop. This is still game for a short. We're still getting the heads up. So I'm still open for it. Let's see if we get it. Now, if the momentum shifts, oh, there's a signal. All right, so let's see what the next candle is like. If the next candle is gives me like a strong green candle, all right, you know what? Here we go. I am short. I pressed the button. What happened? I'm not in this. Am I in this thing? Never took the order. Oh, all right. Well, interesting. Oh, I'm not short, but there's a signal. So I'm still interested in shorting this. Let's see if this candle stops. If this candle, I need to see like a decent red candle here. That candle had me in, but for some reason the button never stuck. Okay, I'm going to take this one. All right, there we go. I'm short. All right, I'm short 2 contracts now. Okay. Now let's see. My risk should actually be a little bit lower on the 30-second chart. 33 points. That's normal. Okay, that's what it should be. Not 100 or 200 or 80. 33 points. So that's why I'm in 2 contracts. Okay, where normally I've been doing one because of the increased ranges. Right, that's how I mitigated my risk. All right. So let's see how this plays out. If I get stopped out, that's it. Like, I'm not going to push this. I'm trying this on the short side based on the ideas that we came up with earlier as far as the general momentum. This structure right here that we're looking at is not exactly favorable, but I'm going to give it a try. I gave it a try. Let's see. Now, we have our risk is defined. When you're in something like this, if you're actually taking this with a real account or even a prop account, you should put the stop and the profit objective. You should program them in at the time that you enter the trade. I'm not doing that because I'm just going to bang it out. All right. But it's a good habit to just go to your trade panel, right, and just click these buttons. Okay. And it puts all that stuff in for you because you should have a hard stop. The reason for that is if there's some surprise announcement right now, if Trump comes out and says something bullish, this thing will spike 100 points. And by the time I get out of it, I'm going to be caught in a bad position. Okay. I'm going to lose a lot more money. I'll be losing a lot more than 30 points. So you should put a hard stop in. All right. But like from right now, if we go to the stop, I'm just going to buy it back. I'm just going to press the button. Make sense? I mean, it's an eval account, so I'm not worried about that. But over time, that is a risk I'm taking. All right, just so you know, I just don't feel like going in there and putting in all those numbers when I'm just going to press the button anyway. I guess I'm just lazy. It's also very important if it's a real money account. If you're doing this with a real money account, again, you use a hard stop. Even if you don't use a profit objective, just use the hard stop. Because the profit objective, if some surprise news comes out and it goes your way in a major way and it blows through the profit objective, well, that's not a problem. That's nothing wrong with that, right? So that's one thing you can do. Just put the hard stop in, program the hard stop. All right, so I'm almost at 1-to-1 here. If this thing gives me a hard time at 1-to-1, I may just say, F you. In other words, exit the trade, right? Because I'm just interested in booking green. That's all I'm interested in. I want to get to that $3,000 profit objective, and I don't want to sit here and take a bunch of stops and just spend more time, right? I just want to book green and get the F out. That's it. That's as a day trader, that is what you have to do. All right, the market wants to work with me here. Okay, no problem. Now, if we get to the profit objective, you know what? Well, I was gonna try to get fancy here. Maybe I'll close one and try to let one ride. Let's see. What's I don't like that candle. It's a 30-second. This is a 30-second, so it's going to be a little more dramatic. In fact, let me make this bigger. It's going to be a little bit more dramatic. The candles are going to be a little more dramatic looking. Okay, I like that it's giving us this tail. That's a good candle. All right, so I'm going to prepare to close one here because if we get to the profit objective, I'd like to buy back one. So I just programmed the one in. All right, we're almost there. See that red candle that we just had with that tail on it? Usually when you get something like that, the next candle usually goes lower. Okay, when you get that long tail like that above that pin bar, see, we shouldn't be seeing green. I may blow out a one just to take my money, just to lock in one. You know what? All right, I covered one. Look, it turns right around. All right, no problem. I'm still in one. So I locked in a little early. So this is my runner now. All right, let's see if we get a runner. Right, so I locked in one right around here, so a little over 1 to 1. Not exactly my 1.5 to 1, but all right. Keep it going. Keep it going, as Jerry Seinfeld would say. Whenever I make money, I get into my Jerry Seinfeld impressions. All right. So let's see what we do here. My trailing stop is look. My trailing stop has been active. See that? It's reduced my risk by almost half. But if we go back up there, I'm giving back my whole thing. I won't be happy about that. So let's see. All right. So another green close. I'm trying to let the Trade Scanner Pro guide my decision making here. I exited early on that one. I used some judgment because I'm trying to book profits here, and if we're going to have a hard time at the profit objective, then I'm taking money. All right, so I locked in one. I'm just trying to manage this one here. I would really need I need a steep red candle to give me confidence here. It's got to be we got to break this low. If we could make the lower low, that'll be a good thing, right? And then the trailing stop, as you can see, is getting closer and closer to break even. Also, keep in mind, remember the short trade from the 1 minute chart? That's been open this entire time. You realize that? This short trade has been open the entire time from the beginning of my stream. So we're able to capitalize because we went to a 30-second chart, right? That's the advantage to working on a smaller time frame like that, is you may get a move within a move. And the 30-second chart is what allowed me to capture this lower high situation where the 1 minute nothing ever really changed. We never went to the trailing stop on the 1 minute. In fact, at this point, I could use my 1 minute if I want to manage the trade because I'm only managing the runner now, right? If I want to use these levels, but there's, why do that? You can, for example, if this thing breaks this support and this trailing stop is actually, are they about the same price? 588. What is this one? 610. Okay, so actually the 30-second, the trailing stop is lower on the 30-second. But if you wanted to be more flexible, then you could use a trailing stop on your 1 minute. I'll give it a little more room to breathe. Okay, here we are. Profit objective. Official profit objective. My trailing stop is now beyond break even. So no matter what in this trade, it should be green as long as I respect the trailing stop. All right. Ooh, we're rejecting the profit objective, huh? This is not the candle I want to see here. That's not what I should be seeing. That should be red and it should be closing red, not these green reversals. In fact, I have a double bottom there on the 30-second. I don't want to see that. That's a failed low. This is a failed low situation, right? We have a low and then we have a failed low. That means shorts are caught. I definitely don't want to see that. So I may be banging this thing out early. Because again, I just want to manage it. Look, so I had basically 10 seconds to take that profit objective. And you can yell at me and you can say, well, how come you never took it? I'm trying to give my runner a chance to run. And it's not running. But I'm trying to give it a chance. I'm trying to be patient with it. When you're dealing with a 30-second chart, sometimes you have to be a little more patient. But so let's see, if we get a red, we should get a red. That should be a red candle close, not green. Why am I? Oh, goodbye. You know what? Goodbye. Goodbye. That's it. I've had it. Goodbye. That is not what I should be seeing. I don't care if it turns red. We shouldn't have made it that far. So I'm not giving back the whole profit. All right. So this wasn't look at that. This wasn't the greatest trade, but it was still green. Let's take a look. Let's look at let's look at the account summary. I made $82. All right. That for 2 contracts, I should have made more, but all right. At the profit objective, I should have been up 3 something or whatever. So I got away with $82. This thing is going back to break even anyway. Look, it stopped out. It stopped out at break even. So it looks like I made the right choice, right? I had like 10, my profit objective was right here. I had 10 seconds to take that. But since I had taken my earlier one, I was trying to give this one a chance. All right, what am I going to do? It's still green, and that's all that matters. Do you see how that worked, you guys? Have you learned something from this? Right? The trade management is such an important thing. I would have given back all that money if greed entered the picture. If I was all about, oh, I'm gonna make thousands of points here, I'm gonna make millions of dollars, right? But I know how this market works. I know how quickly this thing can give money back, especially on this time frame. So it's like, all this hesitation was like, all right. And that's why I took one off early, because I want to book profits. I don't care how far this goes, especially when you're dealing with a prop firm account. It's especially important to book the profit and not go for home runs. You know why? Because they have this trailing loss limit. Not all prop firms have this, but this one that I'm using has. And what that means is if you're up, like I said, I've explained this before, but I might as well explain it again. If you're up $1,000 in a trade and you hold on and you give back half, so now you lock in your profit at $500, your daily loss limit has moved $1,000. It's like a trailing stop. It moved $1,000 and it stays there. So just because you booked 500, it doesn't go backward and say, okay, we're only going to move the stop by 500. No, it moves up 1,000. And you're like, well, who cares? Well, if you run into a problem or you take some size, you now have less of a threshold before you blow the account. That max trailing loss is so that you blow the account. That's what they want you to do. So it's based on the intraday high of your P&L. So they force you to take profits is what they're doing. They don't want you catching a winner, because if someone goes all in and they have a winner and it's a big winner, NASDAQ runs 200 points and you're all in, that's thousands. That's like $20,000. And the prop firm potentially has to pay that out. They don't want to pay that out. So they don't want you to ride winners. That's a little bit of a conflict with the Trade Scanner Pro, because the Trade Scanner Pro was built to help you ride winners. So I was trying to give it a little bit of a chance there, but as you could see, I was pretty quick to get out, right? So you saw all this in real time. What I'm showing you here, I can't fake any of this. And look, that 1 minute short is still in play. Look at that. But the 30-second chart allowed me to capture this little movement right here and make $82 in that. Could have made a little more, but hey, green is green, right? Any questions, you guys? So it was an interesting day. Any questions? It's all about mindset. It's all about having reasonable expectations. And the Trade Scanner Pro helps with that. It helped us find a short. Look at this thing getting stopped out. It helped us find a short. It helped us manage the risk. Our risk was well defined because of, look at that, the 1 minute just got stopped out. Because of my Trade Scanner Pro, because it quantified my risk, I was comfortable putting on 2 contracts. As you know, I've been on 1 contract these previous few days, right? I switched to 2 today because my risk was more reasonable. I'm willing to lose 50 points on 2 contracts. That's okay. I'm not willing to lose 200 points on 2 contracts. The Trade Scanner Pro lays that out, tells you, this is my risk. Okay. So it gives you concrete information to make adequate decisions on. Make sense? So again, you guys, do me a favor, press the like button, press subscribe if you like this, if you like what I'm doing here. I hope you're getting value from this. That's why I'm doing these streams. Trust me, there are much better things I could be doing at this time, okay, than streaming this. But I want people to be able to use the Trade Scanner Pro. Wow, look at this, man. There must be some good news in the market or something. Look at that. I want people to be able to use this tool and get value out of this tool. I had this thing developed to help the beginner simplify their decision-making process. That's the whole idea. And as you can see, I managed this trade even though I missed the trade in the beginning and all that other stuff, we still had an opportunity. I was prepared to sit here for an hour and have no trades. You realize that? Not only that, but there were multiple opportunities. This long trade that was called on the counter trend side also worked out very well. If you had taken that, there was some profit in there, but I said I wasn't going to take longs. I stuck to the plan, but there was some profit there. This environment wasn't ideal for longs, but like I've told people, if you're going to do counter trend, you do it at a support or a resistance level. This was a clear support that we defined at the beginning of the stream. That's the overnight low, right? Look at the reaction we got off of it. That's not a coincidence. So I just suspected we were going to break it, and we held. All right, I still managed to get away with a small short. Okay, you guys, any questions? So if you have any questions, you can find me. You can email me at mark@markpmarkets.com. You could send me a message on TradingView. Those are usually the best places, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you want to try out the Trade Scanner Pro, you see the link on my screen here. You can sign up for 14 days for free. Just keep in mind, if you don't want it, make sure you cancel before day 14 or you will get billed. And then don't ask me for a refund if you do that. I get these people, they wait till like day 15. They're like, oh, I meant to cancel. You have to be responsible, man. So you have 14 days. You can cancel at any time, and it's very easy to cancel. But again, this is a valuable tool. I don't know why anyone would not want to use this, but I understand why people cancel. It's because beginners don't understand how to use this tool. They're expecting it to forecast, and they're expecting it to solve all your problems. No tool can do that. All these fancy things that they're always promoting on YouTube and stuff like that, like, 100% win rate, it's all nonsense. And you're going to have the same problem with every single tool. False signals and repaints and all kinds of other stuff. You know how it goes. There is no such thing as a perfect tool. You have to do some work, and then the tool can help simplify the decision-making process. That's the way this works here. So it's 2 steps. Do your trend and your levels, and then wait for confirmation. Okay? And it's not going to be perfect, but one thing for sure is when you get stopped out, as long as you respect the stops, when you get stopped out using the Trade Scanner Pro, that stop is smaller than the profit objective. It's set up that way. It's 1.5 to 1 reward risk. It's automatically set up that way, and that does not count when you catch a runner, which goes beyond 1.5 to 1. You can change that ratio, by the way, but if you just stick to that ratio over time, if you're responsible with it and you're sizing responsibly, you should come out slightly ahead because you're losing less than what you make. That's a very important part of this that I think a lot of people may overlook. So when you couple that with a strategy that gives you a slight advantage, so maybe you have more than a 50% win rate, maybe it's a 60% win rate, you should come out ahead. But you have to look at that. You have to look at the market from a statistical point of view, and you have to look at your system in that way. A lot of people, they get mixed up with this back testing stuff, because I get that question a lot. Oh, can you back test it? I'm not a big believer in back testing, especially on the retail level. You know why? Because you can reshape the parameters to have this nice back test. The problem is the markets are not moving for the same reasons today or in the future than they have moved previously. So things change, right? And momentum changes, ranges changes, a lot of things change. And that's why back tests are not exactly, if they were the solution to the problem, then everyone would be making millions of dollars by just back testing. They find the best system, and no, it doesn't work like that. It may work briefly, and then the system stops working and you have to adjust, right? Also, a lot of these retail platforms don't back test adequately. They're not doing it. All they're doing is they're taking a picture of previous data, and then you're just taking signals on. It doesn't work like that either. That's like the retail level, and that's another. It's not relevant at all. Okay. So anyway, you should Google that. All right. I don't see any questions. I see the chat. It's very quiet here. You guys have anything? Nothing? Let me see. Oh man, Come on, YouTube. Only 2 people. That's depressing. Come on, man. I just had another decent trade over here. Only 2 people? Man, why do I even do this? I don't know. I got some people on Twitter, but man, I need the help on YouTube. I even put a link on my TradingView article to my YouTube stream, thinking maybe people will click on that. What am I going to do? All right, you guys. Well, so I'll leave you with that. I'm not going to just keep talking here because I'm not taking any more trades. I hope you got value out of the stream. And now Friday is a holiday. So I'll stream again at this time on Friday, but it is a holiday. And I suspect I got an email. The stock market, I believe, has a half day. So if the stock market closes at 1 p.m., I really don't like taking trades that day. But we'll take a look at the market and we'll see whatever. But I'm going to be extremely conservative. I don't like to trade on holidays. Just from experience, volume is going to be lower and all that other stuff. So it is a holiday. I will stream, but I'm not expecting much action. Okay, so I just want to let you know that. All right, everyone. So again, thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world. And again, thank you for watching.